Hello, thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about worm castings and its benefits. What is worm castings? Worm casting is the byproduct or the poop of worms. It is very light and fluffy, and it is produced by feeding worms food scraps from your kitchen, crushed eggshells, stuff like that, shredded newspaper, dried leaves and dried grass, or finished compost. So after a period of time, then you collect the poop of the worms and it is used as fertilizer. Now, what are the benefits of worm castings? It is 100% organic and contain a good supply of calcium, nitrates, magnesium, phosphorus, and potassium. And it reduces waste in the landfill by feeding the food scraps to your worms. You're benefiting in that you're reducing the waste in the landfill, and at the same time you are reaping the castings that is going to provide nutrients for your plant. And the third is that it retains moisture in your soil, and this it does when the casting gets encapsulated by humic acid. Then it traps moisture, and that moisture your plant is able to absorb it. And the fourth one, sometimes you have your soil and it might be clay or it might be sandy where it is not able to retain any portion of nutrients or moisture. So by adding worm casting to the soil, it will help it to hold the nutrients. To your sandy soil, it will help it to hold the nutrients and moisture at the same time. And if it is the clay soil, then it will help to loosen the soil over a period of time. Now the fifth one is that it contains a lot of good microbes and bacteria. And the sixth one is that it is free from diseases and harmful pesticides. And the seventh one is that it helps to protect your soil from certain pathogens. Now, how can you source worm castings? Well, that depends on your location. It can be sourced from local suppliers, or you can produce your own. Now, how can you produce your own castings? That is by getting yourself some compost worms and raising them, feeding them with your food scraps and your shredded paper and your grass clippings that has been dried and your leaves, etc. And the worms, you can source these either from a local supplier near you, or you can get them online. The same goes for the worm casting in case you do not want to be producing your own. If you don't want to be producing your own casting, then you can get it from a local supplier or you can get it online. Now there are 5 main types of compost worms. There are the red wiggers, the European night crawlers, the African night crawlers, the Canadian night crawlers, and the blue worm. So after feeding these for a while, say about 6 months or so, then you'll be able to harvest castings of your own. You can check out the link below to see how I harvest my castings. And there are various types of worm bin that you can use, whether indoor or outdoor worm bin. You have the continuous flow through system, which it comes in various styles. You have the worm bag, you have the urban worm bag, you can use buckets and totes and many more. You can even make your own, which is the easiest, because then you can design it to suit the environment that you have. Now, worms, if you're going to be keeping them outdoors, as soon as the temperature reach 5 degrees, especially for the red wigglers, they will start to slow down. And so you would want to get them inside, because when the temperature goes lower than 5 degrees Celsius, then the worms may freeze and die. Their eggs, however, can survive. Their eggs can survive outside for 3 years without hatching, because they won't hatch unless the environment around them is good enough. Now, can you compost with regular earthworms? No, because regular earthworms require soil and they don't reproduce as often, or reproduce as many worms as often as the other composting worms. So they are not good composting worms. However, you can build a worm tower in your garden and put food scraps in it. The worms will come in and eat the food scraps, and then they will go back into the soil and poop, and thus providing your soil with the nutrients that it needs. And depending on how many worms you have in your garden, you might not even need to add any extra nutrients to your soil. You might not even need to start a worm bin, depending on how many worms you have in your soil. My worms are mostly fed finished compost. Because I find it better in the sense that it does not attract as much of the fruit flies and stuff like that. So I like to feed them finished compost. Occasionally, just for a treat, I will give them food scraps, especially those foods that they love, like the melon and the banana and the avocado, stuff like that. Now, can worm castings expire? It certainly can. It has a life of 3 years, after which it is expired, and it can be used at that point in time just as a soil amendment, but it won't have sufficient nutrients to take care of your plants. Castings, if you're going to store it, requires oxygen. So wherever you're going to be storing it, whether it is in a container or out in the open, you need to have a small supply of air, and that is to preserve the life of the microbes. And the microbes is what is most beneficial for the plant, so you want to preserve it alive. And castings, unlike compost, should not be frozen because that will kill the microbes as well. You can always reactivate the microbes in your compost, but that's not necessarily the case with the worm castings, so you don't want to freeze it. Okay, so that's it for now. I thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, please share it with your friends, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment in the section below. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you can see more informative videos like these. And I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.